Welcome to where developing for Colleague is an adventure in itself. This video covers the necessary steps to create a drop-down list in Colleague Studio using validation tables. The steps are outlined here and will be discussed in detail. Before we begin, let me briefly discuss what happens behind the scenes when we create a validation table. If using SQL Server, three tables are affected. These are valcodes, valcodes_ls, and vals. These three tables is where the validation table's information is kept. Valcodes contains general information. Valcodes_ls contains the release modules that are defined, and vals contains the actual items that are added to the validation table. Valcodes_ls will have one row for each of the release modules that we defined. Okay, let's have a look at the procedure in detail. First up is the creation of the validation table. This table will contain the items that will be in the drop-down list. This is as easy as right-clicking the project name, selecting New from the context menu, and then selecting Validation Table from the sub-menu. The New Validation Table dialog comes up. Only the validation table name needs to be entered. In this case, I named my new validation table courses.status. Let's do that now. Right-click the project name, click on New, click on Validation Table. Enter the validation table name. Click Finish, and there it is. The next step is to configure the validation table. In this case, we'll need to define the release modules. After that, we'll type in the table's purpose, which is really a brief description. The release module that will be using this UI form is base, so we'll specify that. Let's do that now. This is the Overview tab of the validation table. Here is the release modules list. If left empty, Colleague assumes that all modules will be using our UI form. To add a release module, click the Add button, select the module base, and click OK. Next up is the brief description of the validation table. Drop-down list for course status. And that's it. Now is a good time to click the Save button to save this work. In this image, we can see the item in the release modules list. Now we need to add the table items. To do this, we'll go to the Validation Items tab. To get there, we can click on the link or click on the corresponding tab that's at the bottom of the page. Once we've switched to the Validation Items page, we need to add each item individually one by one. To do this, just click on the Add button. Default values are assigned. We just need to edit these to reflect the item that we need to add. The items that we'll be adding are pass, withdraw, fail, and expelled. Let's do that now. Click the Validation Items tab. Click the Add button. Edit the default values. First item is pass. Internal name is P. Done. Click Add again to add the second item. Withdraw. Internal name W. Click Add again to add the third item, fail internal name F. One more time for expelled item. And that's it. The validation table is ready. Now we need to export it. Save the validation table again. Use the diskette item on the toolbar. To export, right-click the course.status item and select Export from the context menu. When the export dialog comes up, verify that the correct items are selected and marked. Finally, click the Finish button. Let's do that now. Right-click the validation table, click on Export. Verify that the validation table is marked. Click the Finish button. Oops, the dialog came up because I forgot to save the validation table. No problem, we can just click Yes to save it now. The validation table is ready. Now let's verify that our new validation table is really tucked away safely in the 3 tables that I mentioned earlier. I am looking for a third query, which I did not include in this document. We can use these 2 queries. These other images show the results. Let's switch to Management Studio. I am already connected to the server and have the 3 queries ready to go. First I'll query valcodes and execute the query, and there it is. valcode underscore ID is the name of the table ID column. Now let's execute the second query. And there is the release module that we defined. If we had defined other release modules, this query would return a row for each one. And finally, the third query to display the validation table items. And there they are, all 4 of them, as we added them. Where is the description that we entered? That's in valcodes. I'll execute the first query again and scroll to the left. There it is. Next, we'll create the UI form with the drop-down list. Before that, a quick note. The query results in this document are different from those that we saw earlier in a previous step. That's because I changed the queries. The queries here use the like keyword to search for items with a likeness of course asterisks, whereas the queries that I use in Management Studio specifically search for the validation table name. To create a UI form, right-click the project name and click on New and then on Process. When the dialog comes up, we need to enter the form's name, a brief description, and the mnemonic that will be used in the colleague UI. Okay, let's do it. Right-click the project name, select New, select Process. Verify that the process is UI form process. Here I used core, but this might differ depending on the requirements. Enter the form name, enter the description, enter the mnemonic, verify that its status is releasable and click the Finish button. And we are done. Now we'll remove the default input argument, a.personid. Usually it is important to have this. However, for our specific example, we don't need it. To remove it, select the argument from the list in the Overview tab of the UI form and click the Remove button. Let's do that now. Here's the Overview tab. Here is some general information. And here is the argument that we'll be removing. Select the argument, click the Remove button, and confirm. And that's it. Now we are going to add the UI elements to the form. Select the Form Design tab. Click on the Field tool. Enter var1 in the dialog's text box and click the OK button. Let's do it. Select UI from Form and then the Form Design tab. I'm adding a label to the form. Now the field. Enter var1 selected from the list and click OK. Drop the field next to the label. I am adding a second label and fields so that the form won't consist of only the dropdown. For purposes of this exercise, this step is totally optional. I just used var2 for the second label. And we are now done. Did you notice the header fields that were automatically inserted? Of those, the only one that is important is the small red one between the now and the process.title fields. However, for this demonstration, not even that one is needed, so we'll just remove the entire header. Let's do it. In Form Designer, click on the Select tool. Now select each item one by one, and after it is selected, press the Del key on the keyboard. The identifier.block is a window. Click on the Select Window tool, click the window item, and press the Del key. The header bar goes. Oops, forgot one. Now a little aesthetics. And we are done. Save. Add the second text field. We already did that, skip it. Now we need to connect the first field, var1, to our validation table, course.status. Doing this will convert the field into a drop-down list. To do this, select the var1 field in the Form Designer and select the Form Properties tab in the view to the right of the editor. Select Attributes of the Form Properties. Scrolling down, there is a validation field. We need to enter our validation table name here. To do this, click the Add button. In the Filter Tables text field, we begin to enter the validation table name. The list just below it will automatically adapt. Select the correct validation table. To finish the operation, just click the Finish button. The validation table name with a $VR prefix will display. Let's do it. Select the var1 field. Verify that Form Properties tab and Attributes are selected. Click the Add button next to the validation field. In the Filter Tables field, begin to type the validation table name, select the course.status table, and click the Finish button. And there it is. Note that the prefix of $VR was added to the table name. The UI form is now complete. The next step is to generate the code, open a colleague session, and bring up the form using the defined mnemonic. Let's do it. Save our work so far. Generate the code by clicking on the corresponding button. Now open a colleague session. Enter the UI Forms mnemonic, and there you have it.